Everyone, and welcome back to the Thought Leaders Series. I'm Paul Capozio, salesperson extraordinaire, and I want to introduce my co-host, Alec Stern, America's Startup Success Expert. You know and met Alec in our past 5 episodes, but we're really excited tonight because we have an absolute superstar that you need, and if you don't know who she is, you need to know immediately, and if you do, you're going to hear a side to her tonight that you haven't heard before. Alec, if you would be so kind as to introduce our very special guest.
Oh, I'm really excited because not only is she a special guest, we're dear friends, and we've spent a lot of time talking and working together and finding ways to solve all the world's problems. So I'm really excited to have Loral Langmeier, who's an author, speaker, mentor, investor. She's created so many amazing programs that many of you listening have heard of, and if you haven't, we need to seek out Loral and her team and get involved. So Loral, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So we just want to we're going to go behind the scenes maybe and talk a little bit about you. This is all about you. So I would love it if you could just tell us, how did your entrepreneurial journey begin?
It happened by having to. I grew up in a big farm in Nebraska, and we were the first generation to go to college. And here was the deal: you put yourself through. So we all, thank God, had some good genes and went on athletic scholarships, but that only gets you so far. So I remember getting a job for like a minute and thinking, because I grew up, a farm, my mom was a caterer. So even though they wouldn't, say they were big entrepreneurs, they were very entrepreneurial, but we weren't trained like that. I remember getting a job for like a minute and thinking, this is crazy. And I was living in a gym anyway, because I went to school to play hoops. And I saw these people walking around. This is like when I go to school, 83. And I'm like, what are they doing? And they're like, oh, they're personal trainers. And I'm like, I know how to work out more than they know how to work out. So anyway, by choice, I said, well, how much do they get paid? Because, my day and age, I don't know, was what, $6, $7, $8 was the minimum wage to work for somebody. And so, and like reporting for duty was just like ridiculous. I couldn't even imagine it. So I thought, well, I'm going to be a trainer. So literally by working out in a gym and seeing those people are trainers, they make $40 an hour. I'm not going to work. I can do whatever the heck I want, get whatever client I want. And if I don't like them, I can fire them. I loved that. And that was my really kind of first big entrepreneurial thing. I mean, I'd done other things like mowing lawns and, the typical little kid stuff you do. But by, kind of having to figure out a way to work my way through school. And then that went on, though. The success story was by 21. I was making over $500,000 as a trainer and had 16 people working for me. They were all on the basketball team. They all needed jobs, and I had the best one in town. So I'd get the gigs, and we'd all work and work out more. And then by 24, I got a huge contract with Chevron to build fitness centers on the offshore oil rigs out of New Orleans. So that was kind of my first trajectory of entrepreneurial success. Kind of jumped.
Wow.
Without knowing what to do.
Alec, I heard something in here that covered something we figured in another episode. And I want to see if I could bring it out on Loral on this one, is about the Insta gurus that are out there, and everyone's a coach and everyone read a book. And one of the things Alec and I would want this series to be about is we've been there, done that, multi-billion-dollar deals, multi-million-dollar deals, and even failed a few times, right? And I think a failure on your resume is valuable. Talk a little bit about the Insta guru and some of your street cred, because you have a lot of street cred. And I think that people are searching for the right thing. And, can people really deliver real content?
No, I don't think so. So I think there's a lot of, like you said, instant gurus who, they might have read a book about something and said, I'm going to go do this. Like this whole term coach. I remember when the coach came out, because I was part of the International Federation of Coaches. And we said, we got to put a body of work. I mean, everybody's just putting a coach hat on. They got rid of their consultant hat or strategy hat. And I'm like, well, what does it take to be a coach? I mean, anybody says they're a coach. I mean, somebody barely, is 18 years old, so they're a life coach. It's like, you haven't have enough life to coach. And then there's too many people who did one real estate transaction. I love those people. Or worse, now the instant guru is somebody who's got a show on some cable network, right? And we saw that bust all go down with the HTV, whole series and getting busted in Hollywood studios. So my point is, it's so crowded right now, and everybody thinking they're an expert. And I think Amazon, although it's been kind of an interesting run, everybody's an author. When I was an author in my day and age, my last big book was the S Energy book, is 2012. I was one of 379,000 authors that year. That's it in the world. Now there's 6-7 million a year. I mean, everybody's an author, everybody's a guru, and it's really crowded because now everyone's online. So I think, those of you that are out there that are really looking, you got to go deeper into, I'm going to say, a resume. Like, and to your point, Paul, I am a street guru. I just took, 55 people to Boise, Idaho, and we walked the streets. Yes, during COVID, we were on a bus, we were in a hotel, and we walked developments. We walked from how do you buy the land to how do you, do the infrastructure? How do you get to the city? How do you raise the capital? Like, I'm out there rolling up my sleeves with people. And I think if, and like Alec, he started in his attic, right? I mean, if you really, really don't know the business just because you did one thing right, man, I've done 100 things. I don't even know how many things didn't work. And I like that, I think failure's a huge part of your resume because you'll know to never do it again. And I just don't think enough people have the experience and the commitment to somebody else's life to call themselves a guru.
Yeah, that's so spot on. And I think, you mentioned some great things there. And so first and foremost, when you're going to entertain, joining someone's program or get involved with someone, you're checking them out. So you're going to check their resume and you're going to see that that they have been there, done that, succeeded or failed, hopefully. And they're going to empower you with their learnings. And then it's the people that they surround themselves with. And so yes, you would want to see those and see who they're hanging with and who they're teaming up with and so forth. And of course, then it's the attendees. And so just talk to because I know you've got some of your programs that if you can just share with where you're pulling together the best of the best, and it's not just just who's standing up and speaking, but it's also just the raising sort of the water level, the talent that's in the room.
So I've been doing a mastermind mentor group since 2001. I call it my big table. That's a whole metaphor of growing up on a farm in Nebraska where there's, little kids never get to the big table. They're relegated to card tables or the floor. So I always say with money and with teams, you just got to take a seat at the table. And so many people don't know how to do that. They're waiting for an invitation. They're too scared, especially women. I think they stand way back. I have a program for women called The Man Is Not a Plan. They're very handy dandy. I love them. But they also got to take a seat on their own financially and really understand it for they and their family. So I've been teaching families and putting groups together. And I think this is the key. I had a period of about 4 or 5 years. I worked in the Rich Dad, Poor Dad camp. And Sharon Lechter still to this day is, I call her my financial mom. And Robert had a great idea, but it didn't execute fully. But it was the Rich Dad, Poor Dad team, right? It was the Rich Dad Advisor team. And I was what I called the game girl. So I had the master distributor rights to his game. But the concept was brilliant. And I got it the minute he put it together. The difference was all of us wanted to be our own expert. We didn't, we wanted to work on a team, but there just wasn't room on that team. I'll just say that. So I took that years later and formed a team. So I have 28 experts, of which most of them you'd never know their name, but they're world-leading tax strategists to entity and corporate trust strategists. So it's not just me. And I think, like we formed a team, us three, and our teams go on. I don't even know how many people are on our team, for what we're going to talk about. But inside the money, really mentoring. I've got 28 financial experts that are experts at all sorts of alternative categories, cannabis experts, digital currency experts, hemp experts, and just knowing how to work on a team also can cut your failure rate significantly. And I think, those are some of my most costly lessons is not using a team the way a team is designed to be really utilized and really supported for success.
Awesome. I think we keep going, guys, and I think that we're going to kind of get into that next phase. You were very, very gracious and very trusting to have me fly out to Boise and meet with your big table group, right? And we talked about how let me kind of get everybody in the picture how we met. So, and I told the story with Alec. We were truly in a deal that we all brought in thousands of people into, starting people off on a home-based business, which, by the way, #1 Google search right now, home-based, how to make money from home, #1. And you basically basically help people graduate from, a small investment, making an extra couple of $1,000s a month to, I think the cannabis deal was a multi-million-dollar raise in excess of, $10 to $20 million deal.
Yeah.
So you invited me out to speak at that about some of the things we're working on, but I had no idea. And this is why you need to dive down deep into who you're working with, because you don't know who they're going to lead you to. It's called tap rooting, right? So I go in to this deal that I'm into, and I'm pretty it's pretty high on my priority list as far as me. It's pretty much full time for me, and it's part time for Alec and Loral. Which lets you know that even everybody just like you will do these side hustle type deals. And I dig in to see who's in my world, and Alex Stern, right? Yep. Founder, one of the original founders of Constant Contact, a $1.1 billion exit, Laura Langmeier, the millionaire maker, are in my network. So what do? I pick up the phone. I say, guys, you don't know me, but let me tell you what I can do. And they're like, okay, show us. And that's where we're at. So sometimes you're already in something that you don't know. That there is, right? So, Loral, if you'll share with us a little bit about, why it's important to figure out who's around you. And, it's not who you know, it's who they know, right? Can you get in a little bit about how your organization has grown just by word of mouth?
Oh, it's enormous. And I still say, affiliate, and which is really what direct sales is, but affiliate marketing and that connection, if you do it right and you really pay attention to, like you said, who's around you, we're not 6 degrees of separation. We're usually 1. I mean, if, who do you know and who they know and who they know, and then how to resource them properly. I think a lot of people don't know how to resource each other's community very properly. So they have too much of an agenda one way. But really managing your database is one of the things I teach people forever, which is why probably Alec and I are good buds, because, it's what he built was Constant Contact, was managing a database, which is, who's who in your zoo, I call it, with the fun, with just a fun saying. Who do you know? Who do you know that knows somebody that can move your agenda, that can move the group's agenda, and being very purposeful about it. And I think, one of the reasons I think a lot of people don't access people is they don't know what they want. So they're like, well, what would I ask them, or what do I want from them, or what could I give them? And that's a big piece. You got to give first. When I first got into all of this, I mean, I went from, this exercise physiologist on the rigs of, Chevron around the world, building fitness centers. And one day I was just done. And I looked for something else, and Bob Proctor introduced me to Robert Kiyosaki. And I didn't ask questions, and I didn't do the whole analysis things. I just saw this game called Cash Flow. And I said, what are you doing with it? And he said, we're focused on a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I literally jumped from a multi-6-figure job, because by then I was at corporate headquarters in San Francisco, just quit to go follow a Japanese guy in a game around. But my point in sharing that piece is I just jumped. Like, I knew I wanted something different. And I think a lot of you don't know what you want. You know what you don't want. You spend most of your life bitching about what you don't want versus what do you want and how purposefully you can get there. So once I got into the Rich Dad, Poor Dad camp, and realized they really weren't Rich Dad, Poor Dad that we know today. They were like, nobody knew them. So it was like, oh gosh, we have a lot of work to do. Then I very quickly reached out to a lot of other people. I reached out to Mark Victor Hansen. I reached back to Bob Proctor, Keith Cunningham, Bob, Robert Allen. I mean, I just reached out to everybody. And like, similar to you, Paul, like, you don't know who I am, but I'm on the Rich Dad, Poor Dad team. I know Bob Proctor. I know a few people. How can I help you? And they're like, who are you? I said, I will just sell more of your stuff than anybody else. And I remember them laughing at me going, oh my God, who's this girl? And I said, I will sell more of your stuff than anybody else will sell your stuff. And they said, what do you want? And I said, that's all right now. I'm going to learn to make money and then I'll come back to you. And I got on every stage within 18 months in the world. Anywhere I wanted, those guys introduced me. My point is you got to give first. You got to know what you want clearly and be very gracious on the team. Like, I think a lot of people don't know how to be on a team and they don't know how to stay in their lane once you're in the team. So I don't know. Did that help kind of explain? I wouldn't even know what to do by myself. Like, I am such a team player now. I wouldn't even know, like, I reached back out, to you guys about something, I want to do with all of this amazing work we're going to put together. But I couldn't even imagine doing anything by myself. That would be odd.
Right.
Like, yeah, work.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, that's exactly the point that people needed to hear. And I think the other thing is that, we lose sight of our, I call it, everyone, talks of the 5 people that you're closest to, and all this other stuff. But for me, it's long distancing, and that's going back into my dusting off my phone contact list and people in my past that I had as a teacher, a mentor, an investor, a friend, and leading with value and asking what are they up to and how can I help? And then of course they turn around and say, well, what can what are you up to? And in doing so, as of late, I've reconnected with some people in my past that are now we're teaming on projects, and they're connecting me into other people. And so you don't have to look too far. I mean, we're all sitting here with the answer is in our hand most of the time, is our phone. And then do exactly what you just said, which is so important, to lead with the value, and then they'll come asking. And it's with usually within, as you said, 1 to possibly 2 degrees of separation, to find the connection to someone who you can team up with and have success with.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get into really you do this great thing called Ask, Tell, Ask, right? And I've participated in a lot of your events, and I want to make sure that if you're watching this, reach out to us. We want to get you into some of Loral's events. Look, and if the big table is a $30,000 proposition, right? And that's for certain people who realize that. And I met so many of these people who are willing to pay that kind of money just to sit at, now it's not physically one big table because there's a lot of people there, but they came in and they listen to every single opportunity. They're finding deals. They're networking. It's created a value. What we've done, myself, Alec, and Loral, is put together some vetted opportunities that we're actually in ourselves. Okay. We're not going to recommend anything that we're not doing ourselves. We all participate in different levels, right? So look, if you got an extra 10 million laying around, we'll tell you about something that we're doing out in Nevada desert, right? That Loral's project that she's doing right out by Area 51. And it has nothing to do with aliens.
Exactly.
But if you're in a different, financial situation where a few $100s and you want to get into some sort of a product-based thing, we have an amazing company with first-to-market products that you can get involved, and I will educate you. That's something that I lead off with. That's something that we can help you in, one, attracting people to, right? Who's not going to come in and listen to a Loral Langmeier and Alex Stern, and then, Paul Capozio, who? But the point is, we're going to coach you and guide you by the hand to help you. Now, you got to step up yourself, but we've had these vetted opportunities that we want to introduce you to. But Alec, you do it great when you really talk about, but they have to make that decision. Right? They have to really kind of, you kind of get into that about what it takes really to do. It's not us holding your hand.
Yeah. So the opportunities are abound, and when we all sit here and look at our portfolio, where are there sort of potential holes? Where are you willing to take a little bit of a risk? And sometimes risk is just time, not necessarily like money or potential loss of money. And so the commitment is to be eyes wide open, hear opportunities, hear what others like us are involved in that we're having success with, and then make decisions on your own. And in some of these instances, they're side hustles, they're part-time, they're as much as you put in, you'll get as much as you want out. Others a little, they're passive, or it's just, an investment, and you watch it grow and evolve as an idea. But there are some where you can have full control over the opportunity. And so I think, it's making the decision to commit. And so people always ask me, why am I involved in a side hustle or something with some passive cash flow or revenue? And I say to them, why wouldn't I be? If I have an opportunity to fill in my portfolio and alternative investments, something that was around passive cash flow, then I committed in, and I'm putting in the time that I can afford to put in right now, and quite frankly, finding more time to commit more to it because of the success that we're seeing. So you've got to step up. You've got to be eyes wide open. I had a lot of preconceived, notions and ideas and thoughts around, some of the different business categories, and I threw them out the window, and I was willing to listen and then make decisions to change some of my portfolio mix.
Well, and I think too, Alec, like when we first met, I think we were actually together at the same event when we heard about this opportunity, and we both jumped, right? I think you jumped a little before I did, and we were, already in each other's, line, I'm going to call it, and on each other's team, and we did a little bit, And then, we stayed on the product, but we didn't really do it until we met Paul. So again, back to staying in your lane. Paul's the trainer, the champion. I mean, the minute you walked into the room, and you are correct, the amount of people who ever get to walk into a table room that have not been, part of the team and really, paid to be there, paid to play, then I get to walk in. I mean, people know it's a very highly regarded, protected space. So, but you have like massive energy, just walked in, gave extraordinary presentation. People will still talk about you. They say, is that guy Paul going to be there? I mean, whether they joined or not, you made a heck of an impact, huge value in just what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And even millionaires and multimillionaires do these kinds of things called direct sales businesses. And I think so many people have a weird energy about it. So thanks to Paul, he reached out to us, but we were in a while. And I think I share that story because I think a lot of you've joined things and it didn't all click. And again, back to the team, when the team comes together and it all clicks, magic happens. So we're excited about this.
Awesome. So we're going to do a quick call to action. And then Alex, should we give Loral just one final comment? So Loral, if you want to think about one good closing statement to leave people with, but I'm going to tell you this. Here's the value that we're creating, guys. You can get into a business. You could open up a donut shop. You could do whatever you want. But here we're giving you an opportunity to partner with us and get a little bit of value added from us to be able to help you grow your opportunity. But it's really going to be up to you. We could only help guide you and introduce you to it. So if you're not watching this live, then there's going to be a link below. We need your information and give us a little bit of your story. Just don't say, give me your contact information. I'm going to reach out to you. Give me a little bit of your story. Give Loral, if Loral said something to you, just send us a nice email, a little bit. Hey, when Loral said really rung true with me, or what Alex said, really rung true with me. Tell us a little bit about your story. We want to get to know you because we are not going to stick you in a deal that does not make sense for you, because that doesn't work for us either. It's going to be a time drain on all of us. It's got to be right for you. It's got to be right for us, but we think you can do it. So send us a little message, and I'm going to hand it off to Loral just to give us a parting word.
Well, I think for a couple of things I would say is one of the last books I wrote, and it's just a key phrase that I use, and really I've probably lived my life by. I think a lot of successful people do. It's say yes and figure it out. I think a lot of times when an opportunity comes, you go into but I don't know how to do it. And I want you to really notice the words of say yes and figure it out. I didn't say you had to figure it out. Like as a team, you figure it out. So what part can you bring to the team? Maybe you have a database. Maybe you're good at selling. Maybe you're good at follow-up and customer service. Maybe you're good at tracking. Maybe you'll be the person who really understands product knowledge. So somewhere on the team, maybe you can run Facebook ads. I mean, I don't know what you can do, but bring your skill set and we'll figure out how it fits together on the team. But I think when I say yes and figure it out, so many people make a yes opportunity no in a nanosecond, because instead of thinking how it's going to happen, right? And I think who's going to do the work, because it shouldn't going to be me. That's literally how I think. And a lot of you, because you think, well, you have to do the work, meaning you, the person, you don't have to do a lot of the work. You're going to have to do some of the work that, Paul assigns you or Alec assigns you or I assign you, but you're going to stay in your lane and you're going to do your part of the team. So just notice how many times a yes opportunity, a world-class team has come to you and said, join our team. And you say no because you can't figure out, you go into analytics in your head and then you end up in a no versus a yes. You probably have passed up millions of dollars of yes opportunities. And I've lived my life saying yes to so many things. And here's what I would say about a yes moment. It's usually the things you absolutely have no idea about how to do become some of the greatest successes you'll ever have. So say yes to this one.
Thank you so much. Alec, why don't you take us out and say goodbye, and we're going to end this broadcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah, so this has been amazing, Loral. I love the golden nuggets that you drop every time we talk. So thank you for that. And I would just say on your last point that most people don't visualize the outcome. So they say no because they're like, oh, it's going to take work, or you're going to come. They have all the suns in my eyes, all the excuses. But the bottom line is, if you visualize the outcome, like if I jump in here, I can visualize that I'm arm in arm with Loral and Paul and some other great folks on this partnership, and we're celebrating our success. I can visualize that. I visualized it from the moment I signed up, and now we're seeing that come to fruition and in spades. So just sitting there and saying no is your excuse, your stuck point, your whatever you're dealing with from your past. You got to let it go and be open-minded. I always say yes and ask, and then say, what's the question? What's the opportunity? I always say yes, because to your point, you've got to be open to receive and jump into things. And you'll see that it's the company you keep. And when you see that the company that we are keeping that are having incredible success, that are committed to your success, then you will say yes. Yeah. So this has been another amazing episode for the Thought Leader series. And again, Loral, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you, Loral. Appreciate it. So long, everybody.
Thank you.